This is Mondays with Vish. He's Vish Kumaran, the star of the show. I'm Grant Cohn. We've been doing this for a few weeks, and we've developed a little bit of a pattern, especially for home games. I go to the game, I cover the game, the Niners lose, I rant and rave afterward, and then in the morning, Vish and I talk it through calmly, reasonably, and try to find out exactly what's going on, if it's as bad as it seemed the night before. And usually it isn't, but today, I don't know, it might be. Vish, what are your thoughts broadly on what happened yesterday at Santa Clara?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to mince words here. That was about as pathetic as I've seen a good, or what was considered to be a good Niners team, perform and play in a game that really meant a lot. Now, my overreaction for that game is probably going to come next week, because I'm still holding out, because I think that there is maybe a chance for this team to bounce back. But let's leave next week aside. Yesterday was about as bad as it gets. And there's really not a position, a player, much you can say anything positive about. The Niners were outcoached. They were outplayed. They were out-executed. They looked
in all three phases.
Yep.
In all three phases. It was
all three phases.
At home.
All three phases.
Against a 1-3 team.
Absolutely. And that team looked like they were playing for something, while the Niners looked like a team that had already lost their entire season, which is really disconcerting, because we're 4 weeks into the season with a team that has not had most of their roster. So if anything, they should feel confident. Hey, we're 2-2 with all these injuries, but yesterday didn't feel that way.
Okay, so this team, I think we all feel that there's something off with this team. Like the confidence isn't there that they had last year. What do you attribute that to?
I think there's a genuine drop-off in the leadership, and some leaders left and some leaders are injured. Let's start with Joe Staley. His retirement, I think he was the pulse of this team. I think he was a great leader for this team. I think he was a consummate professional. I think he was a great voice for this team. I think when Frank Gore left this team, Joe Staley was the new Mr. 49er. He stood for everything that this franchise is supposed to stand for at their best, and he retired. And look, his replacement, Trent Williams, is allegedly a better player than him. But I don't know. Does Trent Williams bring the same intangibles as Joe Staley? I don't know. Now, I'm not.
Let's be real specific. Like, I think what Staley's leadership manifested, the way it manifested itself, is called keeping players accountable. Mm-hmm. Meaning, Mike McGlinchey, you're underweight. You got to be X amount of pounds to play right tackle on the 49ers. Mm-hmm. You're 10 pounds underweight. Come on, guys. He was the kind of guy that would make sure everyone was doing the right thing. And from what it looks like on the offensive line right now, no one's holding each other accountable. You heard it with Trent Williams in his press conference last week. There was like, well, what's the issue? He's like, I don't know. I'm playing well. Did you ever hear Joe Staley? He would take responsibility even if he maybe felt that, I don't know, I'm playing well.
Right. And he was as good a leader as the Niners have had in the offensive line. And then they traded DeForest Buckner, just another bring his backpack to work, get down, get ready, and just a grinder, just a guy who works hard, a guy who's going to play every play like his last. He plays hard. He stands for everything of a guy that you want to pay. And look.
And he does it whether you're good or not. Doesn't matter.
Right. And look, I'm not going to say, again, I thought it was an okay decision to not pay DeForest Buckner, but he still is a loss. You did lose something there. Then another guy that people don't talk about, Emmanuel Sanders changed the culture for this offense. Look at the confidence of Kendrick Bourne and Deebo Samuel once Emmanuel Sanders showed up. Emmanuel Sanders is a pro's pro.
Also Jimmy.
Right. He changed life for Jimmy. He's a pro's pro. He does
2 rings.
Job. He's always at the right spot. He does his job. He's mastered the intricate nuances of the position, whether it's playing with late hands or running great routes or knowing when to break off a route or knowing how to make sure the DB doesn't track the ball so you can make contested catches in spite of being 5'10".
Also, he's a 10-year vet and he has 2 rings, so what he says carries weight.
One ring, but he's played in 3 Super Bowls.
Oh, my bad. 1 ring. Okay, you're right. So he's played in 3 Super Bowls.
He's performed in big games. He's played with big quarterbacks. And he brought an element. You don't have that. And then the fourth guy is Richard Sherman. Look.
Yeah.
Last week, I made the mistake of saying if there's one player that they could maybe move off of, it was Richard Sherman. You cannot tell me that Richard Sherman would have seen that game, seen where it was going, and just have stood for that.
Yes.
Richard Sherman would have fought. He would have fought with somebody. He would have thrown a fit. He would have said, this is not good enough.
Yeah.
He would not have taken that defeated attitude. And they missed Richard Sherman yesterday, and they missed leadership in general. And the fifth guy who was there, he played yesterday, and that's Jimmy Garoppolo. Everybody says in this locker room that Jimmy Garoppolo is a great leader, and I believe that. I think that while his play has been shaky, his in the locker room leadership and the confidence that he's brought to this team has been one of his biggest strengths. Well, he's not bringing that anymore. And if he's not bringing that, then this team is not feeding off of anybody's confidence or anybody's pulse for that energy.
Right. So, and we've talked about this before. Like, the 49ers did a lot of losing. They had confidence in Kyle and they competed for Kyle, but they lost. And then Jimmy came here and they started winning. And it was something magical about it. For whatever reason, they won with him, and they felt as long as he was on the field, they could win. They generated their confidence from him. And now, can they still do that? I mean, he's not even confident. And they just got blown out with him on the field. They didn't even compete against a 1-3 team, and he got benched at halftime. Yeah, he was injured, and that's true. But still, I mean, it seems like the mystique is gone a little bit, and they can't be as confident naturally as they used to be.
Look, the injury thing, it could very well be real. I'm not in his body. I don't know how he felt throwing the football, but I'm not going to give him an excuse for how he played just because he was hurt. In my opinion, once you step onto that field, we have to judge you for how you played. And Jimmy Garoppolo was pathetic. There's no other word for it. He was pathetic. And that's the only judgment I can provide today. Now, maybe that ankle was terribly, it was just so hurt. He was so hurt he couldn't play, and he heals it up in 2 weeks and comes back and plays great. Then I'll say he plays great. But yesterday, he was pathetic.
Okay, let me ask it this way. Who is the leader of the 49ers offense right now?
Okay, well, the leader should be George Kittle.
It's not, though.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I don't know what's wrong with George Kittle. I still see George Kittle playing hard. I think George Kittle is still playing great. But there was this special infectious energy to George Kittle. Maybe he's missing the fans. Look, I'm going to give him maybe that excuse.
Also, one thing about George, his attitude is not, he's not like Joe Staley. Joe Staley is stoic and mature. George Kittle looks like a frat guy on the field, which is endearing and cool because he's having so much fun. But he looks like a kid. He seems like a big kid on the field. Like Joe Staley was like a grown man. And it's like, where is that guy on this offense? Right. Trent Williams looks like he could care less. I mean, good player, but it's like, what do the Niners mean to him? He could be on the Raiders next year or any other team. McGlinchey, is he the leader of this team? He's 25 and he stinks.
I think in the NFL, there is, as much as you want to say that your best player doesn't have to be a leader, there is a level of play that you do expect from your leaders. Otherwise, it's really difficult to look at a guy and respect his opinion, even if he is a good leader, a good man, and all of that, because his play is not up to par. And Mike McGlinchey's play has not been up to par this year. For the 9th overall pick in the draft, a guy playing to get his 5th-year option picked up, look, this is awful. Mike McGlinchey looks as bad as he's looked the last 2 years, and he didn't look like an all-pro in his first 2 years anyway.
He looks underweight. He looks like 285 pounds.
Right.
He looks skinny, and he's getting walked back consistently. He's playing with no strength. He's soft. He was better last year. He looked bigger the last 2 years.
Right. To go back to the original point, though, of who is the leader of this offense, theoretically, it should be George Kittle. It should be George Kittle, but I don't see any leadership in this offense at all. Maybe yesterday's game was just a one-off example, and they come back and they bounce back, and when they bounce back, then I'll say their leader stepped up, whoever that leader is. But I don't see it. I don't see George Kittle running over people in the run game, getting everybody hyped up. Where was that guy yesterday?
See, to me, it would be Kyle Juszczyk, but it's not. And to me, so I think basically the answer is there isn't one right now. There might be one next week, but through the first 5 weeks of the season, there is not one. So to me, part of being a head coach, it's not just all about drawing up plays and calling the right plays, because Shanahan's good at that most of the time. It's also about cultivating leadership if you don't have it. So his job this week is to, either be the leader. First of all, be the leader right now because it's no one else. And then 2, figure out who he can cultivate as the leader on this offense. Those two things. And I don't know if he's up to it. I don't know.
Agreed.
We'll see. So should we segue into our thoughts on Shanahan, or are you not ready to go there yet?
I'm ready to talk about Kyle.